This video is brought to you by Redneck Engineer, custom-built gaming PCs and parts for an affordable price. Use code joshscorcher at checkout for a 5% discount. And make sure you don't have any coupon clipping extensions like Honey installed or I don't get my commission. Thank you!
It's me, Mario!
Oh, Mario. Mario. And Luigi Mario. Once perceived strictly as a timeless and nostalgic walk in the park, is now known, rather notoriously, for harboring the unforgiving within its bowels. For better, or for worse. Levels, bosses, it's all on the table here. We'll explore 5 examples of Mario difficulty that'll make you proud to be a fan who is polished with skill, and 5 that'll leave you wondering if you have any hair left once you're done pulling it out. Let the challenge begin. Mario and Luigi games have a tumultuous history with the concept of difficulty. You'll be plowing through basic enemies left and right, and then in comes a boss or two that halt your progression until you can overcome that hurdle. But usually you can grind up enough to get past it, being an RPG and all. So this isn't too big an issue, right? Well, Bowser's Inside Story introduced the Giant Battles, fights that completely do away with the game's usual mechanics in favor of giving a unique, spectacle-filled rush of a fight. For the most part, they're easy. For the most part. Then comes Dream Team, and while the spectacle is up due to the new 3D graphics, the difficulty... Oh, there are some issues here. The penalty for failing QuickTime events in Dream Team's Giant Battles are extremely punishing, especially with bosses like Mount Pajamaja, Zkeeper, and Bowser. And you better hope you can adapt to the finicky gyroscope controls fast, because if you can't, it's all the way back to the start of the fight for another chance. Now, all this would be aggravating on its own, but Dream Team adds a boss gauntlet for these giant battles. And if you thought those fights sucked before, the X versions will drive you up the wall.
You drive me up the wall.
What?
I said you drive me up the wall!
In a usual boss gauntlet, the difficulty is balanced with how the easier fights could be quickly dispatched by a skilled player who's high enough level to cut through them without much trouble, giving some breathing room between tougher bosses. Yeah, here? None of that. These fights take forever to get through.
Why won't you die?
It's not like you can afford to lower your guard on easier bosses, no. These fights demand you get through multiple QuickTime events in a row, and many of them just do not give you the chance to get your bearings. Some of them, like the aforementioned Mount Pajamaja, have attacks that last forever and a half to get through, and just one mistake eats up chunks of your HP, and no amount of grinding will affect how much damage you deal or take. Oh, and you can't heal. Just to add to the stress. And all of this for what? What reward could possibly make slogging through a gauntlet of extremely punishing QuickTime events worth it? Money and bragging rights? Whoa. These fights aren't fun and are completely pointless. You have zero incentive to even touch the giant Luigi medley. Does being 100% optional keep them lower on the list? Yes. Does it make them any less of a nightmare? Why don't you take a freaking guess? If there's one thing that Mario Kart fans can always depend on, it's that Rainbow Road will often be the hardest track. This place has been infamous since the SNES days for marking the end of the Special Cup, having little to no barriers and causing naive racers to constantly fall into the vacuum of space. You can debate on which Rainbow Road you think is the hardest, but for this entry, I want to give special attention to the Mario Kart Wii variant.
No! No! Are you serious?
Much like its ancestors, the Wii version of Rainbow Road has been a mix of areas that have barriers and plenty of areas that do not. There's one section in particular with 2 giant holes in the middle of the track with very tiny edges that you'll want to trick off of. Yeah, this game knows you're a tryhard and exploits that by tricking you into falling into the 2 giant black holes. And we're not Mario Kart 8 yet, so you gotta wait a fortnight for Lakitu to fish you out of Earth's atmosphere. But you know what makes this track arguably harder than the rest? 2 words. Motion controls. If you're not accustomed to playing with the Wii remote, you will fall off more times than any other Rainbow Road track that came before, especially if you're a masochist and play the game with automatic drifting on. Nearly every single curve on this track is borderless, so you have to have House of Cards level precision to turn the Wii remote just enough to make that turn without falling off. And may Rosalina help you if you're too close to the edge and get knocked off by another racer or run into one of the barriers while you're making that turn. With all that being said, the track doesn't feel unfair at all. Sure, you have to hope and pray that the computer players or your friends don't abuse you with weapons, or for the love of all that is holy, do not get reckless with those mushrooms. But if you can avoid falling into the 2 giant holes and master the motion controls well enough, it's still a really fun ride. Nintendo would even redesign the Wii variant of the Rainbow Road for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Pack, though they would admittedly make it easier by making those 2 holes in the center easier to trick off of, and eliminating the need for motion controls. Though I guess you could do the same thing on the Wii if you have a nunchuck or GameCube controller nearby, but hey, the intended way is art for us masochists at heart. Are you the kind of completionist who can't physically stand the idea of missing even one goal? Well, then you're gonna have a stroke when you reach this level. Now, I have plenty of good things to say about Super Mario Galaxy. However, there's one frustrating moment that only slightly stops it from being truly perfect, and it involves purple coins. You need to collect 100 of them for a star, but half the time you can just leisurely get them at your own pace. The other half, you gotta work within a time limit. And among the hardest in this branch, Luigi's purple coins. There are 150 coins in this level, but don't worry, you only have to snag 100 of them. The problem: the whole thing is a leap of faith. Half the arena is made up of platforms that either shrink and disappear or rotate the minute you step on them. The rest of the area is filled with pools of acid that insta-kill you. So you have to be nimble-footed as heck to get those coins off those unsteady steps, and you cannot risk stopping for too long or you're dead. Oh yeah, there's also a time limit. 3 minutes to collect 100 coins and reach the power star. Oh yeah, that's right, the clock doesn't stop when the star emerges, so you better pray like heck that you're fast or close enough to the star once you hit 100 coins. Now, Luigi's purple coins does get a little easier with a lot of practice. Admittedly, the timer might be the least of your worries. The way the platforms are disappearing, you're already going to be scrambling to reach the end fast. By that logic, the timer's just kind of pointless and feels like it's only there just to stress you out. Think of that one platform minigame in Fall Guy, except you're required to step on every platform to collect the coins. It's not enough to kill the game's fun factor, but if you manage to survive this, you earn the right to flex the hell out of your victory. The original NES Super Mario Bros., the grandfather of Mario games, the one that started the whole thing. Let's pause for a moment of respect, shall we? Alright, that's enough. Let's talk about World 8. Oh yeah, we're talking about the earliest example of times Mario made us want to pull our hair out. The 8th and final stop on our journey to save Princess Peach. Let's go over all 4 levels of this world to determine why World 8 is still so difficult even to this day. There's World 8-1, of course, a long...
One eternity later.
Level. And there's World 8-2, which litters the level with loads of very tricky bottomless pits. And that's on top of the game throwing every enemy in the Mario handbook at you. A 30 gives you a bit of a break, but still insistent on throwing a platoon of Hammer Bros at you, and then, after all that, you must face
The ultimate challenge!
World 8-4, your final encounter with Bowser before Princess Peach is saved. Just how hard and how long is this level? Well, I'll be charitable and say that it's the Great Maze's great-grandfather. Every single level in World 8 is faster than normal, with obstacles that can make each one take forever, meaning you have to be fast. Oh, and you have to get past all of this with little to no power-ups. And any power-ups that could help you through these levels are hidden. You have to utilize every skill you've learned up to this point to strategize the best and most time-efficient method to make your way to the castle the princess is being kept. You also have to memorize the right pipe to go down in World 8-4 if you want the very last level of the game to not last you longer than the director's cut out of Gone with the Wind. When a game for the original Nintendo console can make its final stage this challenging, it's less infuriating and more impressive. It's part of why the original Super Mario Bros. Has so much staying power. Though, gonna need a break before going on a new quest, princess. Oh, janky Mario Sunshine. We love you. We really do. But wow, turns out rush programming thrown into a microwave can make your gaming experience much more of a living hell. So who's our lucky guest? Pachinko, Corona Mountain, the Chuckster? The lily pad level. The f***ing lily pad level. Just finding and getting to this level puts the gatekeeping, gaslight gatekeep girl boss. You gotta get to this silly little warp pipe on this silly little island that's just off the coast of Delfino Plaza. So close, yet so far. It sounds easy. Yeah, I guess it's easy the same way that Sonic 06 is free of bugs. Step 1, find and feed the Yoshi, for his juice is the only way to get through the pipe. Step 2, hop onto a boat with Yoshi to a nearby island. Step 3, hop on a boat from the island and pray that you picked the right one. Step 4, float or jump onto this random platform. Step 5, we are still not at the actual level yet, by the way. Hop onto this other boat that will finally take you to this miserable island. Oh, and Yoshi dies in the water.
Have fun!
The lily pad level is a one-screen long river with red coins from hell, but I genuinely think this mission has caused the layer of fire and damnation to freeze completely. Remember Bianco Hills? Sweet, precious, easy Bianco Hills. If you were paying attention back then, you would notice there's a lily pad you can float on and direct with flood. If you use the lily pad while the water in Bianco Hills was polluted, you would know that it disintegrates over time. There's not much of that. The clear water in Lily Pad Ride is a wolf in sheep's clothing if I ever saw one. Might as well be lava at that point, except this isn't Corona Mountain and you don't get the luxury of a stable boat that somehow doesn't melt into magma. I would far rather use the boat even still to navigate this waterway. Would you have to be very careful? Yeah, but it would be way less bad than a time limit. Tick-tock, you've got to get through this and get 8 red coins. And if you miss one...
Actually, there's a pipe at the end of the stage to take you back to the beginning.
Oh, good point. Yeah, back to the beginning is right. This is just painful. Oh, sure, it keeps your suffering short, but it's filled to the brim with mechanics and methods straight out of your Sunshine nightmares. It's hard for this game to pull off good difficulty with how funky the programming is, but it can be done. Corona Mountain isn't as bad as they say, and several levels in the later stages offer an enjoyable challenge. But this? Yeah, Pachinko is sounding a little bit better right now. So, bit of a hot take. The next segments on the good batch are from the RPGs. Hear me out, hear me out.
You suck.
Yes, I know you guys want us to talk about Champions Road or Darker Side Kingdom, which are good, they are. But the RPGs just offer a more refreshing series of challenges that go further than just trying not to die in a long obstacle course. Sure, you could say a lot of the RPG bosses can be subjugated if you grind to a high enough level, but these ones don't play by that rule. So let's begin with our favorite Dark Knight, Kulex. Sure, in the original Mario RPG, you could just grind to level 30, slap Lazy Shell and Safety Badge on Peach, and then call it a day. It's even easier in the remake since you have access to triple moves to make the whole thing go by faster. But that's not all he's got to offer. In the post-game, once you've cleared out all the other boss rematches in the game, you get to fight Kulex again. This time he comes fully prepared as he takes a step into the realm of 3D. But it's more than a mere aesthetic choice as he opens up the rematch with one of my favorite tropes in gaming, the Fallen One attack. Woohoo. Okay, to be fair, this one works because it happens at the beginning of the fight. No need to start over from a first phase or anything stupid like that. And this doesn't just happen once, you'll do it every 5 turns as long as one crystal is active. This constantly puts you in a hot spot where you gotta keep the party well fed before any of his crystals get the drop on you. Adding more to the madness, Kulex takes a page from Boyer and locks your buttons, preventing you from attacking or using items and specials. Combine that with how buffed his crystals are, it really adds agency to every move the enemy makes, knowing that you could be locked out of healing right after Meteor. It made swapping allies and using triple moves to heal and protect yourself mandatory rather than options to mix things up. That's the cool thing about all these rematch fights. They were puzzles that made the most out of every unique or obscure mechanic the game presented to you. It helps considering the game itself is otherwise so much easier because of these mechanics. Seriously, there's no hard mode, but we get breezy mode. Really? But even without a hard mode, this might remain consistent in how tricky it is. Grinding or spamming one good move doesn't matter here, since everything in this fight boils down to moving your party member around like chess pieces and preparing for every trick up the enemy's sleeve. With enough dedication and wit, you can beat this boss while your level is barely in the 20s. In any other RPG, that's a sign of weakness. But here, it's a display of masterful game design that puts brains over muscle. know how Bowser fights are always a mixed bag between being an actual fun challenge and a complete pushover? Well, we very rarely get a truly frustrating fight in that mix, and what few we did get aren't very well known. Hi, Pinball Land! Tried to dig you out of the pit again, call you stupid, and then put you back. Considering how needlessly punishing this game is due to how poorly implemented the mechanics are,
Good God, I think I'm gonna be sick!
it shouldn't be a surprise that the final boss is equally as painful. But somehow, it manages to go even further than that. Going into this fight, the first thing you notice is that you can't hurt Bowser immediately. You have to rotate the thwomps in the arena all the way up first. Hit the switch, then flip him over. Then he'll be open for a hit. Do this 5 times and you win. It's deceptively complex. Trying to flip Mario at the wheels consecutively takes really precise timing, coupled with just how freaking fast the ball moves. It's so easy to accidentally toss Mario out of the groove, and if you take too long, Bowser will jump and paralyze your flippers. If you don't have a pipe blocking the exit, this is pretty much game over, and you'll be sent not 1, but 2 rooms back. So why not just use items to make the fight easier? Sure, the Yoshi Egg makes extra balls and lightning makes Bowser vulnerable. But here's the thing, they work only once. And trying to get them back requires you to, you guessed it, flip Mario precisely into an item shop. Because of that, you might as well just try your luck at beating the boss regularly, since trying to restock on items just adds more hassle you don't need. And if you somehow manage to beat Bowser here, you do get treated to something a little fun. Bowser pulls a King DDD and you can flip him around the arena for good measure. It's satisfying, but you know what happens if you accidentally slip out.
Ah, my goodness.
Thousand Year Door has a handful of moments that could very well have made the list. We all know how difficult Shadow Queen is and how much the pit really pushes us to our limits. But all that pales in comparison to the legacy champion of the Glitz Pit. In the OG version, Prince Mush is just a plot device character who serves as a drive for Jolene to investigate Grubba's siphoning scheme. Although it does pose as an interesting food for thought. This Toad is the champion. The only other instance of a really strong Toad we know of is Master from the first game, so how strong is Mush, really? There was apparently lost media content about Mush being a scrapped boss in the beta copy, but that's about as far as it goes. And then the remake happened. Oh boy! Now this is a super boss! After saving him, Mush will hit you up in a later chapter for a bit of clean sparring. He's told you he's not going easy, and he sure as heck ain't kidding. Mush rocks 96 HP on top of a criminally high defense of 6. His attacks sting just as hard, especially when he starts going Super Saiyan. And on top of that, he can change stances, which makes him straight up dodge some of your attacks. His methods are simple, but very effective at keeping you on your toes. You might think he's overkill even, but not quite. There is one way you can knock him off his guard, and that is by, you guessed it, super guarding. Pull off just one of these and Mush's defense will go down significantly enough that you can start doing some real damage. Between encouraging you to master a very niche mechanic and approaching the fight with the proper badges and upgrades at hand, this fight feels tailor-made for a 1000-year door expert who plays those busted ROM hacks. And honestly, if anyone deserves the honor of becoming a canonized ROM hack boss, it's this guy, let's be real here. After 2 decades of being teased as one of the strongest characters in the Mario Pantheon, what we get in the end was definitely worth the hype. Kakala's Soul Superstar Saga. Starting with 1 HP is insane, but given the intended ways to subvert it, it's hard to measure. Rona Mountain Sunshine. A lot of people apparently had a problem with this one? I didn't, so
Get good.
Lava Spire Daredevil Galaxy, the first of 3D Mario's many super tough single-run courses. It's better than Luigi's Purple Coins. Darker Side Kingdom Odyssey. The quality of difficulty here really depends on how patient you are to sit through the marathon. Champions Row 3D World. You want to play as Rosalina, don't you? Now you gotta complete this level with her on top of the 4 base characters. Have fun! Wacka 1000-Year Door Remake.
Silly little guys! Ah!
Normally, if you're faced with a difficult level in a game, it's not enough to spoil the whole experience. You can get frustrated, take a break, maybe go back and play a level that makes you happy, then try again later. But what happens when the whole game is one long, agonizing level? I submit for your approval and frustration, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. The original sequel to the first Super Mario Bros. Game, it was only released in Japan and deemed too difficult for Western audiences. Eventually, it made its way to us through the All-Stars labeled The Lost Levels. Fitting. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You just hate it because it's too hard. No, I hate it because it just sucks. You could do a mini countdown with all the problems this game has. So screw it. I'ma do it. Poison mushrooms with little warning. You have to wait for the title screen to continue to realize it's a trap. Invisible blocks. Oh, what's that? You came across an impossible gap? No worries. All you have to do is find the invisible blocks to give you a bit of hope. Come on, everybody knows that one. Nonsensical enemy placements. Some enemies you have to use as platforms and put those things back in the water, dang it. Not that you know if they were in the water or not, since the water levels look the same. Weather mechanics. This is the game that introduced weather hazards like wind. Since we don't see these in future games, it's clear we don't need this. Luigi's sloppy mechanics. I mean, it's cool that his controls differ from Mario's, but it's impossible to regulate his speed. The castle mazes. Oh, you don't have to just wait until World 8 anymore. Now you gotta suffer through them mid-game. Warps that can send you back. Why? Seriously, just why? World 9. The only way to unlock it is to beat the game without using any warp zones. So basically a mandatory 3,000 word extra credit essay when you already did like 8 pages of homework. Terribly designed extra levels, endless springs, endless wind. Oh, and you have to beat the game 8 times to unlock levels A through D. Oh, and your big reward for all your hard work? Basically a rough draft of a congratulations poem.
And also you hallucinate toads.
Totally worth it. If you, by some miracle, survive all this, you deserve a frickin' Nobel Prize. Otherwise, there's no shame in letting this one go. Considering how insanely durable Bowser is, you'd think he'd be the hardest part of every Mario game. Sure, he's usually the final boss, but I can really only count a handful of times where I found him challenging. Well, the RPGs usually give us some challenging fights with the cream of the crop, Bowser X. At the end of the gauntlet in Bowser's Inside Story, you get to take on a souped-up version of the Koopa inside of Bowser, and he can become huge inside of Bowser. Why am I overthinking this? It's Mario. It's a rematch of your earlier fight with him with higher stats and more attacks. Like, if the fight the bros had in the credits was actual gameplay. He uses most of the attacks you gain throughout the story, making this a true player character versus player character battle. It isn't that often where we see Bowser using game's mechanics to take you on. That's why I love the Meowser fight. Bowser doesn't use all of his minions' attacks, but he uses enough to make the fight plenty hectic. He definitely won't use attacks you didn't unlock, making there a bit of a choice with the difficulty too. In addition to his normal attacks, he can become large and chase down the bros shooting fireballs at them. The challenge medal in the OG version will increase his stats even more, but that can upset the balance between the fun brawl and the damage sponge that hits like a truck. In the remake, Bowser X has less HP but can fully heal at low health, so definitely go all out with attacks to wear the big guy down. Bowser X is what happens when you decide to have two anime protags fight each other at the end of their series. The bros and Bowser spend time getting strong enough to take on Fawful and the Dark Star and are able to win, but we don't get to have that final showdown to see who's stronger. This is the next best thing. Sure, we know it's just gonna be the bros' victory, but we get to earn it. Just don't think about the Dream Team version. Don't need a repeat of that. I'm Josh Scorcher, and well, now that the hard stuff is out of the way, let's make way for the real stars of the show. No, not those.
Cut!